I don't really feel like painting. Maybe if I can find the right model. Nope, don't want to paint that. No, I don't feel like painting a vehicle. Nope, not even a Primaris Lieutenant can make me want to pick up a paintbrush. I think this is it. I've reached the end. I don't want to paint anymore. Hey guys, Jay here. Welcome to Eons of Battle. And it has finally happened. After 7 years and over 400 videos, I don't want to paint anymore. Well, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but I am experiencing burnout. Now, I am a nutcase who likes painting models more than most people like most things. In fact, I am such a fanatic that I keep a spreadsheet of every model I paint, and I'm up to 332 miniatures this year. Nice. I spend hours and hours each week painting, and sometimes I am just not in the mood. Even I sometimes face hobby burnout. It is a real thing, and it can be a difficult pit to climb out of. It can be hard to find the motivation, especially because some parts of painting are not fun. Cleaning mold lines, priming, base coating, basically everything leading up to the ugly phase of the model, no fun. It can be really hard to push past that stuff, especially when you have no motivation. It's challenging to make yourself do it, especially when building and painting feels like a chore. So how do you suck it up and force yourself to get your painting and hobbying done? Well, I would suggest you don't. Do something else. Play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Watch Stranger Things again. Go fishing, take a nap. Go watch the entire Models and Memories playlist, which is over 8 hours of hobby-related content. Go get a pumpkin spice latte. There are no laws saying you have to get your models done, and you shouldn't force it. Take a little break. Take a long break. And come back when you're feeling refreshed and motivated. I think that this is the solution for most people. The simple, easy way to defeat hobby burnout. It's just taking a little break. But maybe you know yourself, and you know that you want to paint, you just need a little push. You need to get that ball rolling. You don't have full-blown burnout, you just have a little loss of momentum. Well, I have one foolproof solution for dealing with hobby gridlock. I think you should give yourself an easy win. Skip right past all of that boring or annoying stuff and go right for the fun. I am suggesting you go look through your finished models and pick a few to add another 15% to them. This will give you a quick project, let you stretch your painting muscles a little bit, and give you some quick, easy, fun success. There's no threat of failure, the models are already done. If you start and you figure out that painting is just not gonna happen today, you can put them right back on the shelf. I think this is the perfect way to get out of a painting slump. To get me out of my painting slump, I've gone through my collection and I have found 3 units that need some finishing touches. These Gryph-hounds I started when I was putting together my Age of Sigmar Stormcast army, but they really could use some last final touches. Putting on their stripes, painting their beaks, and putting a little bit of grass on their bases. If I can get these done, it'll definitely help me get excited for my Age of Sigmar army. These Necron spiders are completely done, but the little scarabs that are sprinkled here and there could use some paint, and they all have magnetized weapon options that could definitely use some finishing. And these 5 Gene Stealers are one of the very first things I ever painted live here on YouTube, but I have never managed to get their bases done. Until now. All of these units are basically finished, but they just need a little something something before they're completely done. I now have my models, now all I need is my supplies. I have my options, and I think I will start with the Gryph-hounds. Let's see if these spark enough joy to rekindle my desire to paint. These models have been sitting around unfinished for too long. I broke out the colors I used a long time ago to paint them. I put them on my palette and it was like I was right back to the place I was a few weeks ago. I mixed a little bit of white paint into my colors to lighten them up and prepared them for dry brushing. I used my nice Army Painter dry brushes for this. I put this paint on the tops of my Gryph-hounds, and dry brushing works wonders for organic things. This highlighted the muscles and feathers really nicely. Next, I did the same thing for the tan Gryph-hounds, mixing in a bit of white and applying it to the main body of the bird dogs. But on this last red one, I didn't want to mix in white and go pink, so I added some orange to my palette and used this to lighten up the last pair of Gryph-hounds. I like having a variety of colors. It's like they're parrot dogs. I remember when I was originally painting these Gryph-hounds, it was during the Why You Never Finish Anything, a Dominion 1-week challenge video. And I remember I finished all of my stuff a day early, and so I wanted to show off a little bit and go to the store and get more things and then finish all of those up within my week, instead of just the 22 miniatures that came in Dominion. But when I went to the store, I had such a good time talking with the nerds that I actually ended up eating up a lot of my painting time, and I didn't manage to get these guys finished. But was it worth it? Yeah, it was worth it. It was a lot of fun hanging out with those guys. Now I have to paint on all the stripes. You might recognize this mini from the Fine Lines video. Watch that one to really see me go in depth on how I did it. But I loaded up my nicest brush with some black paint, laid it down on the mini where I wanted the stripe, and then dragged upwards. Painting on all these stripes may look like a nightmare, but I had a blast doing it. There wasn't much room for errors, but they're natural stripes, so a little bit of variation and slop is acceptable. Every stripe was a one and done. No too thin coats here, just good old-fashioned brush control. Thank goodness I'm getting a lot of practice in painting these stripes, because I just saw on Games Workshop the Knight Judicator and the Stormstrike Chariot both come with Gryph-hounds, so it's a good thing I'm getting my practice in now, because my army's probably going to have lots and lots of Gryph-hounds in it. After that was done, it was time for the details that'll bring them all together. I painted on all of the collars light blue to match the accent colors for my Stormcasts. I applied a blue wash to the colors because I didn't feel like working that hard. This is a relaxing project, and I'm going to do things that relax me. And you know what always relaxes me? That's right, the EOB Patreon. If you like the videos we make and you want more, the best way to support us is by becoming a member of our Patreon. Over there you'll gain access to some behind the scenes, voting on what models I paint live here on YouTube, a live hobby hangouts every week, some terrain STLs, and more. With that said, it's time to keep on painting. Then I base coated all of the metal bits with brown in preparation to paint them gold. I find that most gold paints don't have great coverage, so undercoating is key. I painted on the gold, and they were looking more and more like they belonged to a Stormcast army. I applied a wash of Games Workshop Reikland Flesh Shade to the gold, and this helped a lot. I have found that this color is a good in-between red and brown, and it helps gold look its best. Next, the beaks. I base coated mine all bright yellow. Most people paint them black or brown, but I like my birds to be silly. I also used Reikland Flesh Shade on these now yellow beaks. And of course, good old Games Workshop, even a pack of dogs has a sergeant, and this one has a helmet and tassel. I wonder if he knows he's in charge. After that, I painted the rim of the base black, but I was not done yet. For my Age of Sigmar army, I apply green static grass. I used an old paintbrush to brush on some spots of Elmer's glue, and I used some tweezers to pick up and mush down the static grass. And just like that, they were done. It feels really good to have finished these Gryph-hounds. Something that's been sitting on the paint desk for a long time unfinished is now painted, and it's a big weight off my shoulders. I can feel the engine starting to rev up a little bit. I finished something, and that is really helping me want to paint more. I think now it's time to work on some Necron spiders. On these spiders, they're about 95% done, but their magnetized weapons haven't even been started. I skipped the prime as they're already mostly painted, and I sprayed on a gray paint. Then I moved on to a light blue-gray, keeping this to the top halves of the model. And then finally, a spray of pure white. After that, I applied a nice coat of Null Oil all over the guns, and it looks gross and heavy, because it is, but wait for the magic. Once it was 100% saturated with Null Oil, I painted on a stripe of Lamian medium, and immediately the darkest parts have moved from the top to the bottom of the guns. These Necron spiders are one of the very first things I ever painted for 40K, one of the very first things I ever collected, and that big ol' rock you see on one of the bases is actually a wood chip. One day on the ride home from high school, I got off the bus and I saw that wood chip sitting in the middle of the street, so I kicked it all the way home and I decided I liked the look of it, so I glued it down to my Necron spider's base. And you know what? I think I did a pretty darn good job of painting it to look like stone. So I am pretty proud of that. And no matter how many times these Necrons get repainted, that wood chip I think will always remain the same. The same exact way I painted it in like 2014. Next, I threw some red ink into my airbrush and I sprayed this carefully on all of the glowy Necron balls. I even finished off a few scarabs that I failed to paint a year ago. I also sprayed this on the tips of the guns. I broke out an orange paint to highlight my Necron balls, and I finished off these areas with a final highlighting of some yellow paint. This will help sell the glow effect. The thing giving off the light is brighter than the light being cast. On the tips of the gun, I dry brushed the orange and yellow. Did it work? It's fine. I would probably do it differently on a second try, but everything's a learning experience. Now the models are done, it's time to finish off the base with some grass tufts. These make a great addition to any base, but I find that when bases have a layer of pigment powders, it's a good idea to use super glue to stick them down, as the self-stick adhesive may not be strong enough to hold it on top of the powders. The last time I was working on these Necrons was in January during the 10,000 point 1 week challenge, where Nick and I tried to get all of our 40K armies painted and completely finished. And that was one of the very first, it was the very first thing filmed in this new set. Pretty crazy to think it's been so long since that video, and I'm finally getting the finishing touches on some of these Necrons. But I bet even though I have way more points of Space Marines in my Black Templar army, I bet I have more 100% finished Necrons than I do 100% finished Space Marines. For my Necrons, I have based them with a weird orange alien world, and I covered the base with tufts to represent the alien flora. I am a big fan of tufts, and I'm quickly running out. I'll need to order more soon. I especially love the 2mm micro tufts. These should be the standard size tufts in my opinion. Finishing these magnetized options was a nice quick project, and it feels good to be knocking things out. Now I don't have to worry about losing these pieces because they're painted, finished, and attached to the model. And I have the shooty option for my spiders the next time I'm ready to game. Feeling pretty good, the snowball is rolling downhill, and now I think it's time to work on a classic, some Gene Stealers. These guys are awesome, but they could use a little more work. First I applied some earth paint to the bases. I put this on pretty watery, so I'm gonna do this first so that they have plenty of time to dry while I'm working on the skin. And speaking of that skin, I did a decent job in the past, but now I use magenta and pink tan. And if I put this over what was there before, they're gonna look a lot closer to my current Gene Stealer cult army. I put this tan paint on the top of his heads and on parts of his fingers and feet. This will make him look more human and creepy. Then I took some watery magenta on my brush and glazed this all over his dome. This will make his skin look red and a little ugly. This is exactly what I want. He does not have a good skincare regimen. Man, these Gene Stealers were one of the very first things I ever painted live on YouTube. By the way, here at EonsOfBattle, we live stream every night from 9 to 10 p.m. Central. Come check it out. But I remember being really nervous about these Gene Stealers, because I remember I painted one years ago in a video, and it was such a miserable process where it took me hours and hours and hours to film this video that was then gonna end up being like a minute. And it really put me off, but seeing these guys all painted up, they really, really look slick. Although, if Games Workshop's listening, redo the Gene Stealers. It is ridiculous how old these guys are. I mean, basically every video game and every Games Workshop publication has always had Gene Stealers in it. So how come they're so old? Games Workshop, get on it. I continue to glaze magenta over the skin, and this really helped the pink fleshy bits stand out nicely against the blue cold skeleton parts. Now that the bases were dry, it was time for some dry brushing. I loaded up some bone white onto a spade-shaped brush and applied this to all the bases. Then it was time for some pigments, and these are messy, so I broke out a cutting mat. I'm using a brown pigment and using an old brush to press this into all the nooks and crannies of the sand and pebbles that make up the base. I tapped off whatever wasn't stuck down and was left with a finished base. Then I painted the rims brown. I used brown for my Gene Stealer cult. My Gene Stealer cult is kind of in a weird spot, where half of it looks amazing because it's all fresh paint that I've applied recently, but a lot of it looks pretty bad because I painted it like 5 years ago, and my painting skills have improved quite a bit. And the Gene Stealer cult is such a cool and difficult army to paint. I would love it all to look its best, and so I have to decide if I'm gonna repaint the old stuff or try to touch it up, or maybe sell it and get new stuff to paint. I don't like to strip models, so I think I'm probably gonna try to do as much touching up as I can. But I've seen some of those old paint jobs, and it's gonna require quite a bit of fresh paint to bring them up to my new standards. To finish off these four-armed fellas, I broke out my brown tufts, but these are way too big. I took out my hobby knife and cut this tuft into loads. Then I applied them here and there to the bases with some super glue to keep them stuck down. And just like that, one tuft bases 5 whole Gene Stealers. It took me forever to find a basing scheme for my Gene Stealer cult. These guys have been sitting in a drawer gathering dust for over a year, but now they are fully based and they're gonna look super good next to my other Gene Stealer cultists. Now with another 5 guys done, I am feeling completely energized for painting. It feels really good to have so many properly finished models in front of me. It can be really hard to start something, especially knowing you have that entire mountain to climb, but this was really fun. Just floating from project to project, getting things finished. For me, it's usually go, 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 paint like a fiend, get things finished. You gotta paint up that box set for the game this weekend. You gotta finish that model perfectly for the video coming up. It was nice to do something a bit more relaxed, and it was really nice to give myself an excuse to actually finish some of the projects that have been piling up and I otherwise wouldn't have touched. It's also great to touch up models because it's getting a larger return on my dollar investment. All the time spent painting a model is more enjoyment and entertainment I received. After all, is a model ever really finished? Often for me, my models are finished at exactly the moment when I'm finished with them. Who knows, maybe these models in a few years will end up back on my painting desk to bring me out of another painting funk. I do think this is an excellent way to deal with hobby burnout, and you don't have to do as much as I did. These are just the models that spoke to me today. You could pick something as intense as freehanding symbols on every shoulder pad, or as simple as highlighting the hair on your HQ choice. The trick is to pick something that doesn't put any pressure on you to get it done. You know you enjoy painting, just boil it down to its purest elements. You like painting capes? Go grab a cape and give it a little extra zhuzh. You feel like doing fine details? Why don't you give eyeballs a try? Feel like not painting anything? Well, then order yourself a pizza, fire up the Xbox. Your models will be waiting for you when you're ready. But if you don't want to wait, there is a challenge going on that you could do while dealing with burnout on your other normal hobbying. Anycubic and My Mini Factory are currently running a challenge, Anycubic's Grand Tour Competition. Choose a building or sculpture that is available from the My Mini Factory website, print it, paint it, then take a photo of the model in a nice environment. Mini World 3D has many free models you can choose from that would make great choices. You guys are uniquely positioned to win, because of our painting tutorials, photography tutorials, and there's plenty of room left for entries. There are 3 top prizes and they all come with a 3D printer and other goodies. And we want to see one of our viewers win it. Get your submissions in by November 17th. You can get more info on the competition and Anycubic's new printer, the Photon Ultra, in the description below. Do you guys ever have painter's block, hobby burnout, or a lack of motivation? Keep this video in your back pocket. I know adding 10 to 15% to already finished models is a surefire way of helping me out of a painter's slump, and I'm sure it'll help you too. But now it is time for the real star of the show, this week's EOB Complete submissions. We put out a challenge to our community to send us before and after photos of their recently finished models to be immortalized in our videos. If you want to join in the fun, you can submit a before and after photo of your painted mini to our Discord server, which you can find in the description below, or you can post it to Instagram with the hashtag EOBComplete. Without further ado, let's look at and get inspired by what the folks have finished this week. Some 40k Assassins by Tweepler, a Sci-Fi Monster by Woe77, an Eldar Guardian by Bug, a Baba Yaga's Hut by Alex Smith, a Primaris Chaplain by Raimi22, a Space Marine Company Veteran by Bastion, a Gaslands Truckosaurus by Acanthos, an Owlbear by Cry Ekowitz, some Orc Commandos by Owlmane, a Magical Griffin by Warble, some Assault Intercessors by Agent Lema, a Drukari Archon by Titania, a Retro Space Marine by Mechabus, a Custom Demon Prince by Ag, some Orc Commandos by Mezreg, a Space Marine by Kamen Astartes, an Aspiring Sorcerer by Psychobabble, a Space Marine by Mr. Ant, a Primaris Chaplain by Black Lung Raider, a Calidus Assassin by Muckle, a Warrior Swordsman by You Like Jazz, 51 Seraphon Skinks by Astrama, a Basilisk Tank by Bear Lattice, a Freebooters Banner by Khan Industries, and a Calidus Assassin by Pox. Congratulations to everyone for a job well done. It's no small feat to get paint on a mini and you all should feel really proud. Nothing gets the hobby juices flowing like finishing a project, and we all thank you for sharing your work, motivating us and the hobby community to paint our plastic. Thanks for sharing.